Hello there. Today I'm taking a look at a red Bordeaux, another one from the 2019 vintage. So here I have a half bottle of Chateau Lilian Ladouys from Saint Estephe. It's a property that's history goes back. It's recorded in 1654, evidently, that there's a property, an estate on this site called Doys. So Ladouys becomes Chateau Lilian Ladouys. In the early 18th century, the estate is bought by the Barre family, and the Barres have the estate for 150 years. They build a chateau there, which is the current chateau, and they build up its reputation in terms of winemaking. But unfortunately, its reputation, the estate's reputation, has rather ebbed by the early 20th century, when shortage of cash sees them selling off parcels of vines as the property falls into dereliction. And it's not until the Thibault family come along and purchase the estate and are able to invest in restoring the vineyards, the chateau and the winery, that the estate's wines start to re-emerge in terms of quality. And it was the Thibauts who in 1989, as recently as that, added the name of Lilian Thibault to the estate, so hence you get Lilian Ladouys. So that's why you never see older vintages of this estate, because prior to 1989 it was differently named. So the next stage of the story is the Thibauts selling to Jacques Lorenzetti, and Jacques has been a little bit of a revolutionary power in the Médoc of late. This was his first investment. He went on to buy Chateau Pédesclos, an underperforming fifth growth in Pauillac, and really turned that around. He's also invested in with the Cruz family in Chateau d'Issin, and has literally this last year just bought another property in Saint Estephe, La Rocher. So it'd be interesting to see how that develops as an investment. And actually, it's kind of one of the problems with Lilian Ladouys, in that the lack of cash and the sell-off of vineyards in the early 20th century meant that the vineyards are very broken up throughout Saint Estephe. So actually some of the investment more recently has been to swap parcels of vineyards and to reassemble the vineyards into more of a sort of a semblance of a single locality. And that's actually led to a change in the nature of the soils. Now that new vineyards have been purchased and others discarded, there's more gravel in the soil types. I mean, the estate has pretty typical Saint Estephe gravel, clay and limestone soils, but there's less limestone now than there was in the overall makeup, and more gravel. The vineyards are planted slightly more Merlot than Cabernet. I think it's about 50% Merlot and 45% Cabernet, and the balance being made up of Petit Verdot and Cabernet Franc. The winery has been equipped with modern temperature regulated stainless steel tanks. They've got 42 of them, so it's a fair sized winery. I mean, this is a how big, 80 hectare vineyard, or there are 80 hectares of vineyards. It's not a single vineyard, obviously. The wine most of it undergoes malolactic conversion in tank, but a small proportion, about 10%, does that in barrel, just to soften it out a little bit. The whole production is aged in French oak barrels, about 40% of which of those are new. Oak aging lasts a minimum of 14 months, probably up to sort of 16 or so. Yeah, so fairly straightforward Bordelais winemaking, really. So let's see what we have in the glass. The wine has quite a good depth of ruby red colour. It's darkly pigmented. I can just about see through it, but it's not incredibly deep. It's 13.5% alcohol. we don't really see that in terms of, yeah, I suppose there are some tears on the side of the glass there. So in terms of the aromas, there's a slightly meaty, earthy note, very typical of Saint Estephe. I mean, this is a very young wine. I would expect the fruit to be quite closed up, and not surprisingly, the aromas are. But actually, there's a lifted, high-toned red fruit to the whole thing. Red fruit with a deep ripeness underneath. Maybe I'm talking more about mulberry than about red plum or something like that. And there are small amounts of cedary spice just poking through, but actually there's more of a sort of rich, brooding, slightly turned in on itself fruit, almost a little bit licoricey. So let's taste. On the palate, that's got some actually really quite lively acidity, which was a little bit of a surprise. Alcohol seems balanced. The tannins have a slightly sort of chalky, astringent quality. They're very, very fine, but not in a sort of a grainy way. Sort of more a smooth, slightly dusty aspect. There's a little bit of an angularity. The freshness and the bitterness of the tannins is meaning that this is quite astringent, really. I mean, there is this rich red, dark plum fruits, slightly stewed note to the stewed plum note to the fruit, but not over into a sort of rich prune aspect. And there's what was chalky tannin is now coming across as quite sort of almost dusty velvet. That sort of the astringency is being overpowered a little bit by the powerful fruit. This has got some nice weight. It's medium to full bodied. It's mouth filling. The tannins, I'm afraid, are the tannins, the solids in the wine. So these have come from the grape pips, from the oak barrels, from the grape skins, and they're rather drying out the back palate. It's not a question of dry as in sweetness, it's a question of astringency. I mean, you can see behind it some earthy red fruit, but it's stopping it from coming to the fore, and it's making it's rather shortening the finish up. So yes, perhaps the Lilian Ladouys needs to be left for at least 4 or 5 years to start opening up, probably a little longer to reach optimal drinking. Certainly a wine that its structure would suggest to me that has the ability to age for 10 years very happily, possibly longer. Its good acidity encourages that as well. But yes, I mean, the tannic structure is what's driving the wine. The alcohol's in balance. So I think that's a wine that can develop and will develop more of those sort of earthy notes, and they may become a little bit more truffly as the wine develops. So that was Chateau Lilian Ladouys from Saint Estephe. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you find the videos of interest. Do please follow us on YouTube. Do also like, share and comment on the videos, but most importantly, do join us again soon, won't you?